Should WWE be worried about the demeanor of its crowds in its arenas? Is Hulk Hogan the right thing for TNA? And is War Games coming back? Coming up next, we discuss all those things here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
Number one since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web, this is the Pro Wrestling Report. With your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome to today's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. We're finally to the bottom of the email bin, in the inbox, if you will.
But you guys keep filling it back up.
It's fine by me, and this show is all about
We know.
So in advance of tomorrow's brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, with myself and David Hero, we've got another edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive, and let's get right down to it, Meathead. This one comes from Sheffield in the United Kingdom. A person by the name of Sion. My apologies if I'm saying that wrong, but let's get to the email. I came across WCW's War Games match in 2000. I believe that's the match beyond. And this was such a fantastic concept. A pyramid of 3 cages, the belt right at the top, and all the cages littered with weapons from ladders to handcuffs to bolt cutters. It was such a good match and well thought out in its execution, with Kevin Nash coming out on top. I haven't seen anything like this in recent years and was wondering if WWE or TNA for that matter would bring something like it back, and if not, why not? Money, safety, whatever else.
I'm confused by the date because actually there was no
Today's
War Games.
February 11th.
The date of this pay-per-view, there was no War Games in 2000 because that pay-per-view's name had gotten changed to Mayhem.
You get what he's talking about.
No, I get it. So I'm wondering what pay-per-view. I assume
crap all over.
I'm not. I assume it was 99, maybe 98, because Mayhem went for 2 pay-per-views. But anyways, War Games. Damian Nelson, not a fan of War Games. Didn't like the.
It's the match beyond me.
Didn't like the 3 rings, the 3 commentary teams.
It's from that movie, right? Oh, yeah.
The
because
60 talents.
I hated it whenever they had to go to Dusty's ring.
Dusty and Lee Marshall, Stagger Lee.
Yeah, it was bad. And I hated the fact that the other 2 rings had to sit there. Granted, there's no way to get out of it when they went to 1 ring. It was just like the 2-ring events.
But it's different now because again,
You'll
fans
never
are coming.
see it again.
Fans are coming back to it, 10 years later, so it's different to them. But yeah, 3-ring, it really tears up the arena because you have to have 3 rings put up.
Well, WCW could afford that because no one was buying the tickets to sit there, so they had to. Well, it's a fact. We remember we went. If all of you could just move to this side so we can look like they didn't need the PA system because people there. Thank you for that email from Sheffield. Let's go down to London, England. Big UK day today.
That's okay.
Sam Schneider sends this in. I went to the TNA show at Wembley, and oh my God, it was good. Jeremy Borash has not been fired from TNA as he was the one announcing all the matches. One thing I noticed, which was very strange about the evening, was a total lack of mention of Hogan. Obviously, it wasn't there, but there were also other things missing. The 6-sided ring was there. Not one of Hogan's acquisitions was there. And when people came to thank everyone at the end, his name was not even mentioned once. What is
That's
your
easy.
take on this?
The 6-sided ring was already shipped before they changed over to the 4-sided ring, so it was already in Europe at that point. The talents hadn't been put on the house show circuit yet, and Jeremy Borash was just pulled from TV. Nobody ever said he was fired.
That's true. I think, and I know WWE did or does, but they may even keep a ring over there because obviously shipping something overseas is
You can't just put it in
dealing with boats at that
a
point.
USPS box.
That box that everything fits in,
Yeah.
same price.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, and I'm glad it sounds like you had fun at the house show, the live event in TNA. They had a good run over in the UK, by the way. Thank you for that email, Sam. Let's take it back domestic stateside here, and let's go to Windham, New Hampshire. This comes from Tyler Kellogg, who says, on last week's Raw, the match between Cody Rhodes and John Cena made me displeased, and as you guys say it, I was hot.
And saying it.
Cody Rhodes led the match. Cena did his shoulder block, spinning back suplex, 5-knuckle shuffle, and Cody reversed his finisher and did more moves until Cena did the attitude adjustment out of nowhere for the win. This frustrates me because Cody is new and has talent, and Cena destroys that talent by him becoming Superman and winning. I find him selfish, and I believe he has poor work ethic. I think it's time for Vince to think about his superstars more instead of the money in his pockets.
That's not going to happen. I don't know if you understand how business works, but money is what drives a businessman on a daily basis.
I like the points you made about Cody Rhodes in here, Tyler. I'm interested to hear what you think about Cody Rhodes as compared to Evan Bourne. And keep in mind, as you're thinking about that, Cody does have a clean pin on Evan Bourne.
Also, to one more point in that email there, and thank you for the email, by the way. I don't think that he destroys his talent. John Cena may seem a little selfish because he's always putting John Cena over. But then again, remember, he's a company guy. He's doing what the company tells him to do. So,
thank you for that email from New Hampshire. And let's go now to South America. Not sure how that works, but we appreciate it. Lucas from South America sends this in, and he says this, an interesting question. TNA, the same way as WCW and ECW, is the question. WCW were good competition for WWE, then WWE buys WCW. For those of you that don't recall, WCW is a defunct professional wrestling organization that went out of business and was purchased by WWE in 2001. Historical reference. ECW was a big company, not big competition, but a big company. Then WWE buys it. WWE is looking for companies...
Actually, that's not true. WWE didn't buy ECW. They basically went bankrupt and closed up shop, but they were kind of funneling money to them, and they bought the rights to the library.
They bought ECW. They bought the name and everything with it.
Yeah, I guess.
WWE is looking for companies with... Is WWE looking for companies with success just to buy them? And will TNA be the next to be bought by WWE? I would venture to say that 10 years ago, however long ago, before WCW was purchased by WWE, you wouldn't even have fathomed this idea. So who knows? Anything could happen in the professional wrestling business. Look, Bret Hart's back on Raw. Look, Hulk Hogan's in TNA. Anything can happen. So to speculate, I think that
Eric Bischoff stood next to Vince McMahon and gave him a hug.
Yeah. In July of 2002. So anything can happen, but at this point in time, I don't see that as being a possibility. And nobody wins if that happens, folks. Look what happened when WWE bought WCW and took over ECW as well. Let's go to our final email of the day, and that's from Marco in Chicago, Illinois. Close to home. Yeah, absolutely. Marco says this. Do you think WWE should be worried because their crowds for the past year have been totally dead for the most part, and only a handful of guys have been getting reactions? I think it might have to do with their mostly child audience, and all they care about is John Cena and DX.
And Rey Mysterio.
Booyaka, booyaka.
Booyaka, booyaka. I'm just a sexy boy.
The question is, should WWE be worried for the crowds of the past year?
No.
There's a distinct
difference.
Because
they're making money.
They're buying tickets. They're getting in. But there's a distinct difference. If you look at anything, and I'm sick of talking about the Attitude Era, if you will, but if you look at anything, even a few years ago, how hot the crowd was, how many more signs there were in the crowd, how the crowd at some shows never sat down. There was a different level of excitement for everything that happened on the show, as opposed to some things that happen on the show nowadays. And part of that could be changing culture in the wrestling world as far as its fans go, but I think a lot more of that has to do with the product that's being presented.
Sure. I'll go with that. Fair enough.
Thank you for that email, Marco from Chicago, a traveling town. We're going to be with you with a brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time, tomorrow.
He did it! Did you hear it? Go.
Tomorrow night, on demand at PWRshow.com and after SmackDown on Channel 14 in southeastern Wisconsin. And as we said, we did this Monday night on the #1 professional wrestling radio show in the world. Guest host, Al Snow. Go from Jerry Springer on Raw to Al Snow.
Is he bringing Head with him?
Pretty sure it goes with him everywhere he goes.
Okay.
This Sunday night, it is TNA pay-per-view, and we'll have exclusive, complete coverage of that at PWRshow.com as well. So what a better way to spend your Valentine's Day, a fake holiday, than with a TNA pay-per-view. And we'll have coverage at PWR.
It's a real holiday for St. Valentine.
You know, the Supreme Court will now put 2 Republicans in office. I'm just talking about things that are fake. That's a Sunday full coverage at PWRshow.com. And we'll be back with you again tomorrow. As I said, David Hero returns, and we'll do PWR Prime Time. I got to find somebody to replace me. I'm sick of being on every episode.
I'm sick of you being
carrying
right
this
next
load.
to me.
This is Damian Nelson and the man they call Meathead. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow.